Okay, we'll call this meeting to order. The Monterey One Water Budget Personnel Committee, Friday, May 8th, 2026. Roll call.
Castroville,
Here.
Monterey,
Here.
Marina Coast,
Here.
Sand City.
Here.
Have any additions to the agenda?
No additions.
Motion to
Move approval of the agenda. Second.
motion made second. Any public comment? See any? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And the motion carries. Now's the time for public comments. Anyone wishing to address this committee on items that aren't on today's agenda can do so now. Nobody?
There's nobody even online.
Okay.
Just Jennifer.
Well, wait a minute.
Not just
She's
Jennifer.
somebody.
I apologize.
Yeah,
Love you,
she's
Jennifer.
she's somebody online.
Okay, we'll move into item 6, business items. Consider approval of the Budget Personnel Committee minutes of March 13th.
Move approval.
Second.
Second, any discussion from the public? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimous. Item B, receive preliminary budget for wastewater operating and capital improvement for fiscal year 26-27. Steve?
Good morning, Chair Stefani and members of the committee. I'm Steve Kerrigan, Senior Director of Administrative Services. Each year, the Finance Department builds and presents 3 budgets for your consideration. In January, you were presented the Monterey County Water Resource Agency, or WRA budget. In April, you received the Pure Water Monterey budget. And today we will be presenting the fiscal year 26-27 preliminary wastewater and energy budget. Today's presentation will be at a high level. The budget is balanced and has been scrutinized, meaning we have trimmed O&M and capital projects. Also, this budget is what is driving the 8% increase from the rate study. And this budget is tied directly to the goals of the strategic plan. Today we have Matt Thompson, our Director of Engineering, who will be joining us soon. Oh, there he is. Very good. If we have any questions on engineering or the capital improvement program, we also have Lindsay Sinsteby, our customer service supervisor, here today if there's any customer service or utility billing questions. That is tough to compete with. That's
Yeah, do we want to pause for a second?
Yeah, we'll pause.
Are they hearing that online too?
I don't know.
Jennifer.
Jim or Matt,
Yeah.
can you guys hear the static?
It's like Halloween.
I'm not hearing it, Paul.
Jen, can you hear me?
What's coming up?
So Jim can't hear
I-
this.
I can hear you. I can't hear the static.
Oh.
Well, is someone power washing our building outside?
We're getting a radio frequency.
Like AM.
Yeah, it sounds like we're,
Picking up signals. Oh, Iran. trying to negotiate.
We need our.
well, part of the budget request is to redo the technology in here, so
It is. It is.
we didn't do it on purpose for that.
No, it's totally on purpose.
Yeah. What is that? What is that sound?
Oh, they're gonna get funded. We can move.
What is the voices? We don't know. Or is it only in my head?
What voice is the radio?
I don't know.
What was it?
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
We pay for like him to get psychologically checked.
That's in the budget also.
4 chairs got to go with him.
We're screwed.
Hey, there's a cognitive test available for both of them.
Yeah, don't want that either. Driving you
You
crazy.
okay? Lindsay, are you okay?
Yeah.
Oh, that. You want to watch this from downstairs? Yeah. Got a thing.
Try to go.
Could that be coming from,
That's way better.
That's better.
but could that be coming from a hearing aid that's connected by Wi-Fi? I don't know who's wearing a hearing aid, okay? I'm sorry.
So far, it sounds way better. I don't know what you did.
It's feedback. I used to play in a band and we
Okay.
get them
Oh, yeah.
start picking up radio
Where's your
signals. Bass.
Nice. I can see that.
We'll try it. Take two?
Yep, take two, let's go.
Okay.
Okay, let's start over.
Let me start over or pick up where I left off?
Pick up
Just
where you
pick up
left
where I left off?
Yes.
Okay. We have Matt Thompson, our Director of Engineering, with us. If we have any questions on engineering or CIP. And we have Lindsay, seems to be our customer service manager here. If we have any questions on customer service or utility billing. And finally, on May 21st at 6 p.m. in this room, we will hold our annual budget workshop where you will be presented the budget in greater detail. So with that, I will turn to Johanna Vargas to give the presentation, but we are encouraging, this is a great opportunity to get your thoughts and input on the presentation and the budget. Okay, Johanna?
Good morning, members of the committee. Johanna Vargas, Grants and Procurement Manager. As Steve mentioned today, Dylan Hopkins and I will be presenting the preliminary fiscal year 2027 wastewater operating and capital improvement budget. This presentation is intended to provide an overview of the proposed operating budget, major capital investment, key assumptions, and projected revenues ahead of the upcoming budget workshop on May 21st. Next slide, please. Next slide. The fiscal year 2027 budget being presented today considers the following primary assumptions. Starting with expenses, we continue to prioritize investments in critical infrastructure to support system reliability, operational performance, and long-term asset management. The budget incorporates a 3% CPI-based increase in accordance with existing employee MOU agreements. We're also anticipating increases in benefits and general operating costs driven by inflation, including the utilities, chemicals, materials, and professional services. On the revenue side, the budget assumes approval of an 8% wastewater rate increase, which is necessary to maintain fiscal stability and support ongoing operations and capital needs. In addition, the budget includes a $15 million in WIFI and loan financing related to the energy capital improvement projects. Next slide, please. The proposed operating expense budget totals approximately $58.1 million. This amount includes operating contingencies and reflects the resources necessary to maintain the day-to-day wastewater operations, regulatory compliance, staffing, maintenance activities, and system reliability. The proposed capital outlay budget includes approximately $832,000. The budget also includes $300,000 for a customer assistance program, which is funded through non-fee revenue sources and helps support customers experiencing financial hardships. And
John, I want to interrupt you right there just for a second.
Yeah.
So I wanted to highlight this because this is one of the recommendations we're bringing to the board is to increase the amount for that customer assistance program. As I've gone to the various member entities and done the presentation on our budget, what I've been hearing is, God, that's quite a bit of an increase. What can we do to help? So what we've done as staff is to propose we had 200,000 in there last time?
Yeah,
250?
200,000.
200. To increase it to 300, it is coming out of non-rate revenue, so it is coming out of our budget. But we feel that it'd be useful for the community in general, plus the fact that 200,000 from last year, we did expend all of it and still had about 60 people that applied that were unable to get assistance. So I just wanted to highlight that. I know it's not significant in the grand scheme of the budget, but it's significant in a difference for you.
And there'll also be a presentation on June 29th on this program.
Yes.
The 60 people, how much are we anticipating that additional amount costing? Is that 100,000 give us a cushion
Yes.
there or? Okay.
Yeah, it'll give us more.
Perfect.
So had we had, what, about 230,000 in there, we probably would have been able to handle the rest. Is that right? 6 times.
Thank you for it.
Sorry, Shawna.
So a follow-up question on this. Do we know if, since I believe we're still using the same qualifications criteria that what PG&E uses?
Yeah.
Are there any changes in the qualification levels coming up that we know about, which could potentially increase the number of eligible folks?
I do not know, but we can certainly find that out before the 29th.
Correct.
Thank you.
Actually, hopefully before the 21st, May, the budget meeting,
Before, yeah, the
budget workshop.
budget workshop.
Yeah, good question.
We'll have that answer for that.
Wait, Johanna.
The budget also includes a proposed contribution of 400,000 to the Section 115 Pension Trust as part of the agency's ongoing proactive pension liability management strategy. Overall, this budget reflects a balanced approach that addresses operational demands while continuing long-term financial planning and customer support initiatives. Next slide, please.
Hi, everyone. Dylan Hopkins, accountant here at Monterey One Water. I'm going to be going over the capital improvement budget composed of two main components, the IT upgrades and engineering upgrades. The total fiscal 27 CIP budget is $50.4 million for the year. From the IT side, appropriately, the first item is the conference and boardroom audio-visual upgrades. Hopefully we don't hear that possum in the ceiling after those upgrades. So we're budgeting $300,000 for that. We have our ongoing ERP conversion, the accounting system budgeted for $335,000. That is slated to go live on November 3rd, I believe. And so these are the remaining 4 months in that fiscal year there. The access control for the RTP, we're budgeting $250,000. An upgrade to the CMMS system, allocating $81,000 for that budget. And lastly, the pump station upgrades for $650,000, which brings us to an IT total of $1.6 million for the capital budget for fiscal 27. Next slide, please. From an engineering side, if you guys have any specific questions, I know Matt is on here, but from a financial perspective, what we're allocating for engineering services composed of 4 major projects: the conveyance system improvement at $19.7 million, the treatment plant improvements at $2.2 million. From the solids handling and recovery perspective, $2.7 million, and the electrical reliability, the interconnection project there at $24.2 million, which brings us to the total of $48.8 million for the engineering services. Thank you.
In terms of revenue, the projected operating revenues for fiscal year 2027 are approximately $95 million, in addition to the $15 million from WIFIAM financing for the energy projects, for a total of $110 million in projected revenues. And our proposed wastewater budget for fiscal year 2027, it's $110 million. Next slide, please. Staff recommends that the Budget and Personnel Committee recommend that the board receive preliminary budget for the wastewater operating and capital improvement for fiscal year 26-27. And we're happy to answer any questions.
Wait, Tom.
Okay, so I have a series of
Yeah.
questions. Might as well just go backwards one slide at a time. One more, please. So it says Projects Engineering Services, but the title is Capital Projects Overview. Are these forecasted amounts to complete these 4 projects in the next fiscal year? Or are some of these multi-year projects and this is just an estimate of expenditures towards that multi-year project, and which is which?
So this, and I'll let Matt jump into here, but this is for fiscal year 26-27. They're all multi-year projects. So
Okay.
I'll just go over them briefly and let Matt correct me out later. Conveyance system improvements. Some of that is actually the Seaside and Monterey pump station that we're in the middle of the construction and finishing that up. The treatment plant improvements, that's moving on with design of that master plan that Matt presented at the last board meeting and initiating preliminary engineering and design, solids handling and recovery, same thing, finishing up that design and moving on to the bidding phase. And electrical reliability is the project that we're currently undertaking, replacing much of the electrical switchgear and MCCs, as well as starting to try to tie everything together with microgrid controllers and so on. So all of them are multi-year. Conveyance system and electrical are in construction, will continue in construction, and the other two are sort of in design, moving towards construction.
So just a consideration for presentation before the board. You've got space on the screen to add a couple of columns into which you could put the sort of information that you just explained. What's the total over X years for conveyance system improvement? Then the board would immediately see, okay, of a
As a
$40 million project, the next year we're spending 19.7. And maybe another column that just gives a sense of the current status of the project. We're in engineering design, we're partly through construction, whatever. You know, just a short word or two. Anyway, it's just a suggestion
No, that's
for how to present.
good. In terms of the time frame for the overall project, it may just maybe we can just note that. So, and the reason I'm thinking of this is the treatment plant improvements. You know, it's $2.2 million in there. I think the total is 293 million, but it's over 12 years.
12 years, exactly.
So it just gives you a scale of where we're at and what we have to do.
Maybe a column could be projected end date.
Yeah.
Of the project, but
we can play with that.
Yeah.
To convey more information.
Okay, if we could go back one more slide. Let's see. So first of all, is this budget only for our wastewater fund?
Yes.
Okay. So under wastewater service, it says capital outlay of 832K, but we got $1.6 million worth of information system capital projects and 48 million of engineering services capital projects. So what's in the 832K?
That's our capital outlay program, and it's mainly equipment for the different wastewater service, like pump stations.
Okay, so I guess my question is, why is
this?
Yeah, why is it called out this particular chart without really explaining what's there and why it shouldn't be in the next, somewhere already embedded in the next two charts?
So Tom, you're going back to the previous slide where the capital outlay is noted as $832,000. Yeah, right there. So just the difference as far as we look at it, and I'll let Dylan and Johanna go into it as well, is a capital outlay is our maintenance people going out and buying equipment that are of a depreciable value, but just purchasing and installing. Whereas a capital improvement project, like on the engineering side, is certainly something that we design, bid, build. We capture our staff time to capitalize within that asset. And I think what Frank has done, and if the next slide, please, in the capital improvements for information system is looking at it the same way. Doing these upgrades is generally going to be bid, and they will try to capitalize their staff time within that asset value to depreciate over time.
So on the previous slide, the capital outlay is either preventive maintenance equipment or possible, is there a contingency in there for something we didn't expect to have to replace but broke anyway? Reactive maintenance?
Yes.
Yes.
So both in operating expenses and in capital outlay, there is contingency built in when there.
Okay, well, I'm just right now focused on that capital outlay one here and trying figuring out what goes into that 832.
We can always, in terms of how this is structured for the budget workshop, and then ultimately on the 29th of June,
Well, you could consider adding another column also to this.
well, I was actually thinking
Table.
taking the capital outlay out and have it as a separate
Maybe
table.
its own-
By
Because there's
listing
no,
all of the capital outlay items.
yeah, I don't think if we're looking at capital outlay as a category, we can state what's in there. If we're looking at capital improvement, we can state them as well. We don't have to separate the IT one from the engineering one. It's the same category in as far as the board is looking at it.
And I don't object at all to capital projects focus, a table telling us what we're putting into information systems versus what we're putting into more physical, not that information systems aren't physical, but more wastewater processing physical infrastructure. So I've got no objections to those two tables and how they're marked out. It's just that I was confused about what's in that capital outlay piece there.
I think conveying to the full board, it's easier to do each category versus separating the subcategories for one and then lumping it into other stuff on a table such as this. So we'll take a closer look at that on how best to convey the full picture to the board.
I do like the isolation of information systems capital improvements versus other capital improvements simply because of the fact that we've got at least two threats that I can think of coming towards our information technologies. One, no offense, anybody who's Chinese, but the PRC, not that they're the only bad actor out there, there's others. And also the expansion of AI, which can be used by bad actors. So to see that we're trying to invest in appropriate equipment. I did want to ask about the pump station upgrades. I presume that's SCADA
Yes,
upgrades for those pump stations?
Yes, specifically related to SCADA.
And maybe making it harder for somebody in the middle of the night to break into a pump station and do something nefarious, plug a thumb drive into a SCADA system and then yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, it's definitely looking at the age of our SCADA equipment out there, some that are no longer supported, to make sure we have updated modern PLCs and the programming to match to make sure we are secure.
And the security upgrades, et cetera. Yeah. So that's good. Particularly, so I do have a question. We have other funds, right?
Other than wastewater fund?
Other than wastewater.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, and we're not looking at their budgets right now. I guess I could ask a question. When are we going to look at their budgets?
You've seen both of them already, the water resources and the pure water. During the budget workshop on May 21st, it will be primarily focused on the wastewater budget, but you'll have sort of a Reader's Digest version of pure water and water resources.
So my related question is, some of these capital improvements, the projects themselves, accrue benefits to other funds. So are these numbers just our wastewater fund's fair share of pump station upgrades, SCADA improvements, or that's maybe not as good an example as conference and boardroom AV upgrades? I mean, all of our enterprise funds benefit from that to $300,000 expenditure. Is that the total for the $300,000 project, or is it a $500,000 project and the County Water Resources Agency is on the hook for $100,000 of it, and Pure Water Monterey is on the hook for $150,000 of it?
This is actually the complete cost of the projects.
Okay.
So generally speaking, the way we've approached things like that, or another good one to look at is the CMMS.
Right.
Because it does look at all of our assets, is we will purchase that within the wastewater fund, And instead of segmenting out, oh, this percentage of work orders go to Pure Water or to Water Resources and then allocate that cost, it'll be built into that indirect cost calculation that we've talked about so much over the years. And that
Okay.
cost allocation plan, which Wildan was working on for us, and we did put it on hold until later this year. So there's multiple ways to look at it. One is sort of a broad brush approach within the indirect cost calculation. The other is to be more granular on, what percentages or what pen I use for pure water versus wastewater.
Well, we certainly look forward to staff's recommendations to becoming more accurate, if you will, in that arena so that, as you know, and as I've stated before, my philosophy is fairness to all the parties that pay for our different funds. And one fund shouldn't be bearing costs unfairly that accrue benefits to a different fund. But I realize that's a difficult thing to parse out in the way we account for money and pay for things, and to have the board in agreement as to what is a appropriately fair way to divvy up those costs.
Yeah, and you're right. I think there's a large range of what you can do, and you can do anything you want. It's just where
Well,
is
within the
the
law.
yes, where is the value within that? And I think what we have decided, at least as staff, to bring forward to the board is a cost allocation plan that does lump a lot of this together versus being granular and tracking them discreetly. Now, having said that, staff hours, equipment, materials, sort of the larger ticket items, if you will, over a given year, we do track specifically by fund.
Well, certainly there's possibilities, and I have no idea what my fellow directors would think of these, but you could divide up those. For instance, we could divide up the 300K conference and boardroom AV upgrades capital project based on relative amounts of water produced within each fund in the prior year. Or you could do it based on actual costs experienced by, and those would give different percentages to split
Completely.
things up. I don't know what the board would be interested in, but certainly those are two alternatives, and I expect you could come up with others that we ought to consider. Thank you.
I wanted to make an ask similar to Tom's first question, or maybe it was a second question in regards to the table. I think the information that would be helpful to see on that is the year the project started, if it has started, or when it is anticipated to start, and when it's anticipated to end. So kind of seeing that range and then looking at where we're at currently in that process, and then what's the total project cost. So if we're currently in the process of already developing that project, it would be helpful to see how much has already been spent versus how much is planned for this fiscal year versus how much is planned for. So I don't know how best to segment that out, but just to kind of see what is the overall scope and where are we at within that scope.
So start date, end date, total project cost within fiscal year 26-27 that we're requesting in our budget, and then percent complete.
Yeah. And however we can make that as simple as possible in this presentation. And then I think that maybe some of the more specificity around these projects can be further described out in the staff report. I don't think we need to have a presentation on that, but I think for folks that are interested in diving in a little bit deeper, which I am on some of these, I think it'd be helpful just to have a little bit more information in the staff report on those. That's it for me.
I agree from my fellow directors. I think that a chart also would help paint a picture with the capital improvements that we have, like a schedule or the project and timeline and, timeline and where we at, what we've completed, what's in our board packets already that you report out on some of the projects might be good. And also on the cybersecurity, I just want to make sure that those upgrades are included too in this project that we're, and that's a question. So
So I'll let Frank talk about cybersecurity, but what he is doing is certainly as part of the capital projects, but more the plan that we had brought to you in closed session in October.
October.
In those milestones we're trying to hit in 27 and 28 to move along the continuum of cybersecurity resilience for the agency. And before Frank launches into this, I do want to point out what Tom mentioned is, yeah, there's attacks all over the place. And we actually received something from the EPA Office of Water Emergency Response that I forwarded to Frank on Iranian actors targeting PLCs, impacts and mitigations for water and wastewater systems. So that's very real and very timely, and this sort of stuff changes all the time.
Yeah, so we do include cybersecurity expenses, and some of these are kind of related to them. We do that more in-depth presentation in October in closed session. It's generally our goal to present to you the specifics in closed session so that we don't have public record of, hey, we use this technology for XYZ at this location. That's actually one of our security measures. But yeah, that cybersecurity is probably number one in terms of when we look at priorities for as we put together our budget.
thank you.
Mhm.
And then also in what Tom's comment about maybe like the boardroom over here to what was it, capital outlay? I forgot what chart that was, but for maybe our system here, does that and about we use this room, does that get a percent? Could that be a percent allocated, just like maybe administration? How do you divvy those things up to all the separate projects?
So that goes to that cost allocation plan we were talking about. And if I go back to 2015, when we developed the indirect cost formula with NBS consultants, as Tom mentioned, there's a number of ways you can go about it. What we did back then was there was the direct charge areas of our budget, meaning operations, maintenance, chemicals, all that sort of stuff. There was the indirect charge, which was more of administration, HR, accounting, IT, and we looked at it differently in terms of, and I'll just pick on HR, it was a percent of employees that were in each of the three budgets. And based on that percent, we took HR's budget and divvied it up. With admin, it was more on percent of total budget dollars in each three. And it would divvy up like the lights or the water or the rent here. So it was sort of embedded in each of the departments. And then each of the departments was split on a way that made sense in industry. But that's also pretty darn convoluted. And why we have issues with Water Resources Agency on how we're doing things. So what we're hoping with Wildan is to come up with something that hopefully a little simpler and then can be attributed across not just for water resources, but for pure water with Marina Coast and Water Management District, the city of Salinas, when we do work with them, that there is a consistent indirect cost or cost allocation for everyone. I don't know if, I hope that answered your question.
It does, just so long that, so that you have a plan and addressing it so that for the for management and, and our office and all that, just where how do you come up with the numbers, or how do you cover those
Our cost.
things, as well as, the pension trust, which is here, but thank you.
Well, and so that's a good point. Built into this budget on the indirect cost revenue that's coming in from the other funds, being that we don't have a consistent cost allocation plan yet, we're sort of negotiating with all the parties. So for instance, water management, just around the pure water, which is the second largest budget we handle, we've pretty much agreed at 14.5%. Just a fixed number, not going down into detail because we're waiting to do that work. Same thing with Water Resources Agency. They're at 14.5% that we worked on through the leadership group of the chairs of both boards. So this budget is more reflective of a negotiated amount versus a detailed amount, just so you know. And frankly, it's my belief wastewater is probably subsidizing a little bit because it's a negotiated amount that we felt was low enough to get the various entities to nod their head and move forward with. It was moving forward so we can meet the budget constraints, timing constraints.
And in terms of the timeline for this work to be done on the cost allocation plan, we're looking to reheat the project in July with Chris Fisher and his team and wrapping it up in October. We've sent out letters to each of our partners so they know, and we need to get past the 21st, the budget workshop, and then the 29th, and then we'll be getting started with Wildan. So there is a plan.
One follow-up for the budget workshop. Will you be starting with an overview of all three budgets so that we see some slides that give us a perspective? Here's proposed budget amounts for CSIP. Here's proposed budget amounts for Pure Water Monterey. Here's proposed total budget for wastewater.
Just so we understand scale between the three.
Exactly.
Yeah, we can certainly do that. So the presentation that we've started putting together and storyboarding and how we get this to you, it started off with the level of service, like sort of why are we doing this thing? And then it does go into each individual fund, wastewater, a little bit on the pure water side, and then the water resources side. Certainly in that summary at the beginning of why we're doing this, we can start with a slide that just shows the magnitude of each of the budgets, because it is pretty interesting, ours being, wastewater being, 110 million, pure water being 20-something million, and then water resources 8.9 million ballpark. So it is interesting to see that, the scale of it, and then frankly where we have been allocating our time. So we can do that. Thanks for that.
That'd be
thought.
good, yeah. And it doesn't hurt to remind the directors that we have these three different pots that staff has to negotiate and work with and come up with budgets for, et cetera, et cetera.
And we have developed a fourth pot for the renewable energy projects. Not
right.
that there's any revenue coming into it just yet or much, but trying to set ourselves up for the future when we certainly feel that's going to be a significant business unit here.
Right. Okay.
Very good. Very good. Anything else?
That's it.
Do you need a motion? Or?
We got everything?
That was
Do you need a
everything.
motion or do you have direction?
I think this is mainly just to receive, and I think, thank you for the
Very
direction.
clear.
Do you guys think we're good?
That's what we needed. Thank you.
Got any public on now? Do we have any public comment?
No, just Jen.
Just Jen.
Just.
It's not just
We said
Jen.
Jen.
Getting beat up today.
Thanks, Jen.
Okay. So we move on to staff reports now.
No staff reports?
Nope.
Matt, you have anything?
No staff reports from me. Thank you.
Now, committee member reports, comments.
So it's probably good news for our IT folks, but I note that the federal government has postponed the deadline by which your public-facing websites must be completely ADA compliant. So we may be there already, I don't know. But I think you've got another year or two.
We're there, right? As of now with Civic Clerk?
I believe we are already there. But you know, we do appreciate when they do push some of these deadlines back,
Right.
just to make sure. But yeah, we should already be there right now.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll adjourn this meeting then.
Thank you.
It's been an hour. Look at that.